Chapter 51. Tony had just returned to his rental car when his cell phone rang. He answered the call without looking at the number. "Hello, Tony speaking." "Tony, it's Jennifer. You're not going to believe this, but that message you told me about was also sent to the St. Louis FBI office with identical wording." "What? When?" "A couple of days ago. I was talking with one of the agents I met when I was there, and he told me about it." "So, what does that mean?" "He says that now the FBI will be involved in investigating Stephen's attack." "Really? That might be a good thing because it'll get more people involved. But why would the same message be sent to the FBI?" "I don't know, and he didn't say. He did mention that this could be larger than just one attack, though. It could be linked to a group operating throughout the US and possibly in other countries." "Wow, that's rather unsettling. So, you need to be careful. You could be dealing with a group of professional assailants and not just an average criminal." "This doesn't sound good. If the FBI interviews Stephen, it might cause another outburst like we saw the other day. I wanted to give you the heads up on this and reinforce that you must take every precaution possible for your own protection. I appreciate the information, and I am being careful. It's probably a good idea for me to speak with Stephen's doctor and give her the heads up on this before someone comes in asking questions." "Yes, sounds like a wise thing to do. I've asked the FBI agent I know to tell me if he'll be involved in the Austin investigation. I'll call you and let you know once I hear from him." "Okay, sounds good. If anything comes up here, I'll let you know." They disconnected the call, and Tony returned to the hospital to see if he could inform Dr. Laura of this new development. When he returned to Stephen's room, he saw Officer Kate Williams conversing with Stephen. He stayed outside the room, but listened in on their conversation, waiting for a break to talk to Kate privately. He was pleased to hear their discussion wasn't about police business, but was more informal, just a friendly visit. When he saw an opening in their discussion, he caught Kate's attention, and she excused herself from the room. Tony waved for her to follow him, and they walked down the hall, away from Stephen's room. When they were far enough away, Tony turned and faced Kate. "I don't know if you're aware of this yet, but I've just received word that the FBI will be actively involved in the investigation concerning the attack on Stephen." "No, I hadn't heard that. Who told you this?" "A friend. She was speaking with an FBI agent she knows who informed her of that." "Why would the FBI be concerned about this? It's just a local incident." "Maybe not. The message you found in Steve's apartment was also delivered to the FBI office in St. Louis the other day. The exact wording." "Really? That's interesting. So the FBI thinks this is bigger than just one assault." "That's what I gathered from her conversation." "This changes things. I assume a 24-hour guard will be posted outside Stephen's room once this news gets to the precinct. And I assume the FBI will want to interview Stephen, which may not go well based on his last reaction to the note." "Yes, I see your point. I might be able to soften their interrogation if I can speak with the agent taking this case. They'll have access to everything we've gathered so far, which isn't much, but it might lessen their questions for him. I'd appreciate anything you can do to help keep Steve from having another episode. He's just now starting to act more like his normal self." "I understand. I'd better get back to the precinct and try to head this off. Thank you for the warning about this." "Certainly. Tell Steve I'll be back later to finish our visit. Just tell him I needed to deal with an urgent matter." "Will do. Thanks, Kate." She left Tony in the hallway and returned to her vehicle. As requested, Tony went to Steve's room and informed him of Kate's sudden departure. When Stephen heard the news, his face dropped, and Tony noticed a change in his demeanor. Understanding set in as Tony realized Steve was developing feelings for this young woman. Bravo exited the taxi, gave the driver a generous tip, and asked him to return in 2 hours. The driver was more than willing to oblige as he scanned the bills Bravo had placed in his hand. The cab drove off, leaving Bravo to survey the surroundings. The warehouse was in a reasonably new industrial area, with a few occupied buildings in the complex and open land across the street. There was some activity around, but based on what he saw, it would be deserted in the evening after each warehouse closed for the day. He walked westward and discovered a canal a little less than a mile away that flowed into the Mississippi River. A grove of trees ran along the bank of the canal, which could provide good coverage for a small boat, should he decide to use that as a means of escape. He jogged around several small streets and discovered a lumber yard 2 blocks from the warehouse he planned to use as his base for the meeting. The thought crossed his mind that access to lumber might also be helpful. Returning to the warehouse, his eyes were on the watch for tactical opportunities he could exploit to his advantage. The problem he faced was those opportunities he sought. He knew Remington too would covet. He graded each location according to several factors, including the ability to exit quickly with adequate cover, those offering a clear line of sight to other areas, distance to and from the other locations, and the number of attack options available in each location. He carefully considered each of these from both an offensive and defensive standpoint. It was essential to ensure that any potential options for Remington would offer fewer advantages than the location or locations he himself would occupy during their encounter. After completing his surveillance of the outer perimeter of the warehouse, he then moved to ascertain the tactical opportunities within the warehouse itself. Stepping up to the door, he discovered the building locked as expected. He opened the canvas bag to retrieve his lockpicking tools, but then remembered he'd left them locked in the small safe in his room and silently cursed himself for neglecting to pack them in the bag. Walking around the perimeter of the building, he noticed one window that was slightly askew. Looking around, he checked to see if anyone was nearby. Seeing no one, he began searching for something to allow him to get up to the window. After several minutes, he found a pallet left outside the building. Taking it to the area with the open window, he leaned the pallet against the wall and carefully scaled the slats. Reaching the top of the pallet, he put his hand under the partially opened window and pulled it out slightly. This gave him enough room to grab onto the windowsill and pull his upper torso up and under the window. Once his head and shoulders were over the window frame, he pushed away from the edge with his back against the window. The window moved farther from the wall, allowing him to swing his right leg over the frame. He lay down on the sill, raised his left leg parallel to his right, and swung his lower body into the warehouse. He gently lowered himself and held onto the sill with his hands. The floor inside the warehouse was lower than the grade outside the window, and he let go of the sill, dropping another 3 feet to the floor. With the sun beaming through the windows to his left, there was adequate lighting even with the lights off. He scanned the inside of the warehouse, which was empty for the most part. In one corner, a few pallets were stacked, while against the wall, several large crates with one side missing were lined up. A small office was located on the opposite wall from where he was standing, and beside the office was a bathroom. A small HVAC system was situated on top of these rooms to keep these areas cool. The more extensive HVAC system designed to cool the warehouse was on the wall at the back of the building. The large door where goods could be brought in and out of the warehouse was one of those rapid roll-up vinyl door openings like many warehouses have these days. He could see padlocks securing the door at the bottom on both sides. While the inside of the warehouse didn't contain many of the ideal elements he required for the type of meeting he was planning, it did provide a few areas of coverage and the privacy that would be necessary. He decided he'd need to make some adjustments before he'd be comfortable setting up the rendezvous. He only hoped Remington couldn't track him down until he was ready for the encounter.